Buenos días, tardes y noches a todos ustedes que siguen su canal de Cristiano Moderno. Con ustedes, Víctor Telles. Esta transmisión será dada en inglés. Para los que quieran accesarla en español, pueden accesarla aquí en este enlace. Everybody, once again, this transmission will be in English. All those who want to listen to it in Spanish, down here, this is the link below where you can access it in Spanish. We have been going over the history of the papacy yesterday and today. We have entered the end of the 3rd century, also known as the crisis of the 3rd century. It is called the crisis of the 3rd century because the Roman Empire faced several challenges. The spread of Cyprian plague, the attack of foreign people, Roman problems with economy, a great famine breaking about, a lot of challenges for the Roman Empire, in which it appeared that for a while it was about to collapse. During this time, we continued with the rise of other popes, starting with Saint Felix. And keep in mind that during this time, the church was still being persecuted by the Roman Empire. So let's begin. In the year 269, which is also the time when the Cyprian plague was breaking out, things became very challenging. And at that time, Felix I, the 26th Pope of the Catholic Church, takes the reins, and he rules the church from the year 269 to 274. He continues with the challenges of Paul of Samosata, who preached Paulinianism, which is the same thing as modalism, in which they believed Paul believed in the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, but not as Trinity form, but as in what's called the modalism. In other words, the Father is the same person as the Son, who's the same person as the Holy Spirit, in different representations. Similar to the one person changing clothes, changing hats, by being the same person as well. That is not Trinity. The Trinity is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are 3 different beings, but the 3 of them come together to form one God. Now, Paul's modalist followers start threatening the peace in the Roman Empire. So Emperor Aurelian expels Paul from the Roman Empire, and he's gone. And Paul leaves towards the east in exile. Also, Pope Felix decrees that it is okay to have mass upon the graves of the martyrs. And this gives a boom to all these basilicas being built upon saints' grave sites, such as St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. Well, Felix dies in the year 274. And at that time, Pope Eutychian becomes the 27th Pope in the year 274 and up until 283. It is informed to us that by this time, a lot of the worst part of the persecution of the early church starts getting more intense. So much so that Eutychian, in the 10 months he held as papacy, because Eutychian was Pope only 10 months, he personally buried 324 martyrs. Pope Eutychian buried personally 324 martyrs. That's about anywhere between 1 and 2 martyrs per day. That's how bad it was that the one person, Eutychian, pretty much was personally burying 2 martyrs each day. He also declared that the deacons who die in martyrdom should be buried in honor, wearing the dalmatica, which is a special kind of tunic. And he also incorporated the whatchamacallit, the blessing of beans and grapes upon the altar. Also, the very same year that Eutychian rises to become pope is also the same year that Constantine, who later becomes Constantine the Great, is born. Notice that Constantine was not born until the moment when the 27th Pope embraces the papal throne. Now, when Pope Eutychian dies, the 27th Pope in the Catholic Church dies. By that time, Constantine was only 9 years old. And at that time, Caius embraces the papal throne in the year 283 and reigns until 296. Now, that being the case, we notice another thing happening. We notice that Caius happens to be a distant cousin of the Emperor Diocletian, who, by the way, rises to power 1 year after Caius embraces the papal throne in the year 284. Diocletian gets the throne after having killed Emperor Carus, Emperor Carinus, and Emperor Numerianus. So this is a small horn that destroys 3 horns and then grows in arrogance. For after all, Diocletian was his nickname, which means golden god. Now, so Diocletian executes the worst of all the persecution, starting with Pope Caius, the 28th Pope. Now, this Pope Caius establishes that anybody who becomes bishops had to gradually go through all the other 7 ranks before becoming pope, before becoming bishop. Anybody who was to be bishop had to have gone through some time as a porter, a lector, exorcist, acolyte, or altar boy, subdeacon, deacon, and priest before ever becoming priest. Now, while Caius was executing his role as a pope, Diocletian, his distant cousin, decides to combat the problems in the Roman Empire. Notice, Diocletian did not like Caius, his cousin, because Diocletian hated the church. Diocletian wanted to exterminate Catholicism from the face of the world. And since his distant cousin Caius became pope, Diocletian set his eyes in trying to kill his own cousin, Pope Caius. Now, but at the same time, the Roman Empire was facing a lot of challenges. And according to Diocletian, Diocletian believed that since we followers of Jesus Christ did not believe in worshiping pagan gods, he blamed the problems that the Roman Empire was facing on Christianity, specifically on Catholicism, because we refused to worship pagan gods. Now, in order to combat the challenges of the Roman Empire, in addition to persecuting the church, Diocletian decides to establish what is called the Roman Tetrarchy, where he splits the Roman Empire into 4 sections. There's the East and the West, and each of these parts, the East and the West, in turn was subdivided for the total of the 4th section. And in each area, the East and the West, there was to be an emperor and a junior emperor. Among all the power juggling, Constantius Chlorus is named as a junior emperor in the Western Empire. By this time, Constantius Chlorus, junior emperor in the West, falls in love with a slave girl called Helena. But this Helena was a member of the Catholic Church. So Constantius Chlorus was very lenient towards towards the members of the Catholic Church. This leniency was not shared by the other three leaders of the Roman Empire. The other three, Maxentius, Licinius, or Gallienus, and and um, Diocletian, persecuted. But since the other three persecuted the church, and they knew that Constantius Chlorus was leading to the church, Diocletian kidnaps Constantius Chlorus' son Constantine when he was 9 years old, in the year 296. This way, Constantine, this way, Diocletian was going to ensure that Constantius Chlorus would do as Diocletian desired. But at that time, Pope Caius also dies. Now, then Marcellinus is named Pope and the 29th Pope of the Catholic Church in the year 296, and he governs the church to the year 304. Now, many enemies of the church falsely accused Marcellinus of having become a lapsy, in other words, having sacrificed to idols during the persecution in the so-called Synod of Cirta or Council of Sinuessa. But that Synod of Cirta or Council of Sinuessa is a mythical synod or council. It never existed. What we do know is that during this time, Constantine rises and frees himself from captivity with Diocletian and joins forces with his father Constantius Chlorus. At this moment, then, an all-out war to take over the entire Roman Empire begins between the four branches. Diocletian decides to cancel his tetrarchy and starts fighting against Constantius Chlorus, against Maxentius, against Licinius, against Galerius, to try and take over the Roman Empire. But Marcellinus dies in the year 304 as part of the most intense part of the persecution. It was said that this persecution was so severe that that during this same time period that I've cited, 268 to 304, there were 10 times more martyrs than the rest of the other 300 years of the Catholic Church combined. Well, for today, that's all we have. And remember, as always, long live Christ the King!